Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Tech Tuesdays at 8 a.m. Hope you're having a great week. We have a fantastic guest today. This is Matt Brozak, and I am not going to waste any time. I'm just going to get right into it with Matt. A lot of people on here don't know who Matt is, but he's going to share a little bit about himself, his story, and some of his vision for real estate. And I can't wait to get into it. So welcome, Matt.
Thank you, Frank. Good morning, and thank you for having me on the show. It's really an honor to be here. Thank you for the invite. Yeah, as mentioned, my name's Matt Brozak. I'm with PNC Mortgage. I've been in the mortgage business for, God, it's over 20 years. A little after 9/11 is when I started. I've been in a variety of different roles, started in the subprime space, moved to big banks, opened my own company, went back to big banks. I've had quite a wild ride, as you can imagine.
Matt, where are you from?
Oh, I'm from Northern California, born and raised in the Sacramento area.
Okay.
Actually live in South Carolina now. So a little over 2 years ago, we moved, uprooted our family, took a big leap of faith and moved to South Carolina. Just sinking my roots in the South here now, loving it. Have a wife and 3 kids that are all in colleges down here. But yeah, part of me is always tied to California. I'm born and raised there.
Tell us about your kids and where do they go?
I have 3 kids. I have a son and twin daughters. My son goes to the Citadel in Charleston, South Carolina. So it's a military college there. He's in his second year. And then I have twin daughters that go to Clemson, which is upstate South Carolina, big school there.
Yeah.
As you can see, wearing my Clemson orange shirt today. It's my new adopted home state team.
Okay.
But yeah, they're really thriving here in this state and these schools. So really, really happy about that.
Good. All right. So you told us a little bit about your career. You start off in subprime. You've been in the mortgage industry for 20 years or so. And so what are you seeing now with the big shift in real estate? We're really used to the West Coast, and now you're on the East Coast. So tell us a little something that we don't know about here on the West Coast about realtors and lending.
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I mean, I work. I'm starting to kind of rebuild my business in the Southeast, South Carolina, North Carolina, Tennessee, Florida, Texas. I do still lend all over the country, including California. I mean, there is culturally some differences here, but I think the big thing that I'm seeing on a bigger level is obviously the market has changed quite a bit over the last year. With higher interest rates and in the real estate market being where it's at. We're having to get back to the basics on business. I mean, as mentioned, I've been in the business 20 years. I started out as a stockbroker, actually, right out of college. So a lot of that was cold calling, cold prospecting. And a lot of what I'm doing now is getting back to the basics on prospecting. So, setting aside time every day to reach out and connect with centers of influence, past clients, realtors. When the markets shift like they are, we're starting to see that business isn't being so hot or handed to us. So I'm really taking this time to get back to the basics on prospecting and networking. And I mean, I think that spans the globe. I mean, it's the same in California, it's the same in South Carolina. It's just basic business prospecting. I think it's a chance for me to get back to the basics on being, I see ourselves in the real estate and mortgage field as advisors, trusted advisors. So when the business is hot, we kind of get away from that. We kind of fall into that role of just really, I hate to say it, order takers. But when the markets are more challenging, then we have to get back to the rules. And I think it's a more fulfilling role when you're acting as an advisor for your clients. So again, that's the same whether you're in California or in South Carolina.
So you left California where the prices were not as high as the coastal regions.
Yeah.
They were pretty decent, especially where you lived up in a place called El Dorado Hills, which a lot of people would aspire to live up there.
Yeah.
Then you moved to South Carolina and the prices aren't that much, correct?
Well, I mean, yes and no. I mean, the thing with say South Carolina, all markets, I work all across the country, and you know, generally all markets, except for maybe Texas, have supply issues, right? So South Carolina has beautiful, beautiful landscape, but they don't have a ton of infrastructure for supply. So what they're really seeing is a supply issue with new homes, and then you have mass migrations from the Northeast, from Ohio, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania. So kind of similar to what a lot of these other states like Texas or other states see this influx of new clients, and you have limited supply, then you just have a demand for new homes and bidding wars. And so a lot of that here, a lot of markets that I deal with across the country have the same challenges. I know California and Texas have more land and more availability to pivot to new homes. But I know supply issues are really just a driving factor on the real estate side across the board.
So being that this is the winter circle and I am always like the father rooster taking care of the agents, tell me about investment opportunities in South Carolina.
Yeah, I mean, there are good opportunities. A lot of what a lot of clients are looking for, which is a good market, is the opportunity for Airbnbs, VRBOs, investment properties. So that's pretty popular down. I'm close to the Charleston market and Hilton Head, which are popular beach vacation markets, about 2 hours from Myrtle Beach. So a lot of clients will look for opportunities to buy investment properties, second homes, and then you go the Airbnb route. It is a little more challenging here because they are starting to crack down on the availability of Airbnbs. I know that's kind of happening nationwide, but it's a great market for second homes. If you're looking for a market for a second home, you really can't go wrong with a Charleston Hilton Head market, especially if you love beach, sand, sun, golf, all of that. It's a fantastic market.
So what are some of the attractions for those who don't know to South Carolina that somebody from either the Midwest or the West
Yeah.
Coast, what would attract somebody to South Carolina?
Yeah, I mean, it's a I don't know if there's a one answer, but I think the biggest thing is just the people. The term Southern hospitality is a real thing. I mean, it's I live in a neighborhood, and it's like I walk or drive down the street, everybody waves, everybody smiles, everybody says hello, and I love that. I love just how everyone is so friendly and opening. And I'm not saying that wasn't the same in California, but I lived down the street in California. I didn't even know my neighbors. Everyone would pull into their home, pull into their garage, and I knew my immediate neighbor and neighbor next door to me, but we never talked. So I walk down the street now, everybody waves, even people I don't know. I'm like, who's that waving at me? They just wave. People say hello. People are nice, and it's just I think the culture and the people are just very friendly here, and I love that. So
So,
if you're looking for that, it's definitely it's a great place to be.
so other than the big issue, obviously here in California, we pay a lot of tax.
Yeah.
And South Carolina, I remember you telling me once you registered both your vehicles for like $50. Was that you?
Yeah, I mean, I actually was just talking to a friend that just moved to North Carolina yesterday, and you go into the DMV, you go in, you register, and it's no line like California DMV, maybe 10 minutes. You do your paperwork, you pay your fee, and they say go sit down. You go sit down, and then they call your name. You walk up, and they hand you your license and your ID the same day. You're like, what is this? So, definitely refreshing. They have different taxes here, but yes, I mean the cost of registering cars, the cost of license, everything across the board is substantially less. Not to mention just how efficient things are. I mean that's the way it really should work. You walk into the DMV and they hand you your license. But yeah, it's some things are just definitely like night and day from California, that's for sure.
What about the weather?
The weather is great. I mean, right now, this week it's 84 degrees. I mean, I think a big knock that people have on the South is that it's too hot or it's humid. I myself love hot weather. I'm a hot weather person. So, they have a saying here that says you get all four seasons in the same day. So sometimes during late into November, December, January, February, it'll get cold in the morning, but it very rarely stays cold. So you'll get it cold in the morning and then it warms up by midday. This week it's going to be about 85 all week. It's sunny. You do get storms here and there, and there is the potential issues of hurricanes. But I mean, I've lived here 3 years now. We've had two scares, and people just get used to it. I mean, there's weather and natural disasters everywhere in the United States. So I look at this place just as perfectly suited for us since we love warm weather.
Yeah, a lot of people from the South say I'd never live in California because of the earthquakes, and everybody here just shrugs it off. It's just little shake,
Yeah.
rattle, and roll, and then you move on.
Yeah, it's pick a part of the country and it has its own natural disaster. So, another thing here is the bugs. So yeah, you get bugs here. I mean, but it's yeah, I think any place in the country you could pick and say there's pluses and minuses to it, and it's just a balance. I look at the weather and some of these things. It's not a perfect place, but you look at the balance. I mean, what I really see for the future, my personal, and I'm biased, is that the South and the Southeast is where a lot of growth will continue to be. I mean, if you look from Texas to Florida to the Carolinas, people are moving here, jobs are moving here. I think there's just going to be tremendous amount of growth here. So, yeah, again, I'm biased, but I think that'll continue.
Okay. So let's get to the nitty gritty. Let's talk about loans, being that you're now with PNC Bank and you're kind of starting over. What's the attitude of the realtors that you're networking with? And are some very positive? Of course, I know the answer to this, but
Yeah,
we always want to work with people who are just as hungry as we are. I mean,
yeah.
we're we're hungry. We have to make a living to support our families. And what is the attitude of Southern realtors as compared to other people?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, you'll definitely see, the South Carolina, Charleston, Hilton Head markets. You have a wide variety of market. I mean, you have in the South Carolina and Hilton Head, you'll have $5-10 million homes, and then you'll have all the way down to 3, 4, 500,000 dollar homes. So you have a wide area of kind of realtors and how they do business. Obviously, the high end niche market is very is very unique and niche. So it takes a lot of working with realtors. I mean, PNC has loans to 30 million. So I do a lot of time kind of focusing on that niche of higher end homes. We have wealth management products, private bank client products that are kind of catered to that niche. So I spent a lot of time working there. But then on the opposite end of the spectrum, we have good affordable home CRA products that are for first time home buyers that have grant monies. So, I there are pockets down here where it's, and this happens in certain areas. I know it's in California where you'll be in an area where it's multi-million dollar homes, and then you go down the street and it's a CRA, LMI census tract. So it's really about knowing the market and getting out and meeting the realtors. I mean, as you mentioned, I just moved to PNC a little bit ago, but I've been doing this for pretty much the last year as cold calling realtors and reaching out to realtors, having coffee, lunches, getting out and meeting people. So a lot of them are susceptible to it. A lot of realtors, I think the thing with this market is just taking the time to get ready for when things start to heat up again. And it's educating realtors on what products are out there to help them. We have lines of credit products that are really attractive for first time for primary residents and second homes that can help them leverage clients that have homes. So it's really about making relationships. And I think a big thing in this market is that we're all guilty of it. Is we're always looking for transactions, but I try and always go into a situation of like, how can I make a connection and how can I help people? I mean, obviously, my goal is to get business to provide for my family, but you really have to go into a situation with a kind of a servant mindset. So you're like, how can I help and establish relationships? So a lot of times that's hard because I mean, most people are guarded, especially when they have a new lender cold calling them. But that's the goal is to really make connections during this time when it's slower, so to speak. I mean, we're in our what typically would be a hot home buying season, and it's not as hot as it can be. So what do we do with that time? Well, we network, we reach out, we make connections, do whatever we can to increase our sphere of influence. So when the market does pick up, then we're ready to go. So
Tell us a little bit more about, because I'm a firm believer in not investing in California, but outside of California. What are
yeah.
some of give me some really good nuggets as far as investment property and some of the products that you have that can help the investor?
Yeah, so on the investment property side, we really have the kind of standard suite of products. We do have a pretty good offering for second home. So if you were looking to buy a second home in say Destin, Florida, We have good products for those, or lines of credit. So, those are, if you're looking at that second home route and maybe use it as a rental, I think that's a good avenue to look at now. Investment products, I mean, those are kind of standard, and they've really, the risk tolerance for that is really kind of pulled back. We don't have any specialty products around that. We do have some on the wealth side, but really, I think where we sit are the better opportunities in that kind of second home market.
Okay, good. So with the pending lawsuit that's got everybody nervous, a lot of people.
Yeah, yeah.
How are you handling that with your new prospective realtors, and how are you able to help them?
Yeah, I mean, I've not had it come up with a conversation with a realtor. Of course, I'm on social media, so I see all of the conversations complaining. I don't know. I don't know an answer to it. My personal opinion is that people will figure it out. I mean, that it's the realtors that are successful and are making money are going to figure out a way around this. This is too big of an industry for them to affect it. So I think it's too early to pass judgment on something like this. And more than that, I think it's just, for lack of a better description, noise. I think this is a tough job we have. It's especially in the market we're in, we need to wake up every day and be motivated, positive. Yes, we need to know what's going on, but spending too much time talking or lamenting on stuff like that, I think is just unproductive. So I think when the time comes, it'll get figured out. I mean, and if something comes down, realtors and lenders will just figure out a way to work around it. I mean, this is the path we've chosen. This is a career field that's been great to all of us. And it's just another obstacle in the way, and we'll just find a way around it.
That's a
Um,
great answer. I
yeah,
like that because,
yeah,
July 1st is coming quick.
yeah,
And I think that people who have never used a buyer broker agreement, like me, never
yeah.
done it, I'm gonna have to start doing it. And sorry about that. Always busy. That's for sure. That was my phone that went off. I think that a lot of people are should really know the buyer broker agreement. We use Sky Slope at EXP, and we have an agreement there. I really think you should be very familiar with the language. I was watching a podcast the other day, and it says the realtors are going to fall. Matt, are you still here?
I'm here.
Okay. I think realtors are going to fall into three buckets. The people who are using it now and educating themselves. And then there's people who are going to wait till June 1st and
Yeah,
scramble. And then the people that are going to start using it on July 1st will be behind the eight ball. So the reason I
yeah,
bring this up is because it's the 800-pound gorilla in the room. And, a lot of people are just afraid. But Marguerite Crispello, a good friend of mine, she has the best advice. She goes, you get paid in direct proportion to how you figure shit out. That's
yeah,
that's my perfect scenario for that. Excuse me for the language, but that's about it.
yeah. That's a really good perspective on it too. I think not just with the buyer broker agreements. By the way, buyer broker agreements are mandatory down here, which they have a lot of funky rules in South Carolina that actually are counter to California in some ways, but you have to have them down here. And I don't know how they will play out. I appreciate your perspective, but I think what you said is super important, that whatever it is, you just have to be ahead of the curve on it. I think a
Yeah.
big thing now, which I've been spending some time at night studying and looking into is AI. There's a big article in this post by the NVIDIA. If you don't know NVIDIA is the big company behind AI, and the CEO was real smug, but he basically said AI won't replace you. The people who learn AI will replace you. So it was just, to me that world is foreign, but at the same time the message is clear: is that if a change is coming, do you want to learn about the change ahead of time and be ahead of the curve? That way when it hits, you're already hitting the ground running. Just like you said, I think that's perfect. Instead of getting caught up in the noise with the buyer broker agreements, like how do you know how to do this, or any changes that are coming? That way it's like you're just breezing right through it. Sure, there'll be obstacles, but that's a really good perspective. I need to take that, look into it, because this is an answer that I don't want to defer to. I think it's important that as a realtor lender relationship, we're working together on this. And I do need to look into that more to be more up to speed. But I don't mean to minimize it, but I just think, hey, smart minds are going to figure this out when the time comes, and just follow their lead on it. The other people that are squawking about it, you don't want to listen to them. So
Yeah. That's true. Well,
Yeah,
Matt, as we're kind of wrapping up on time, what is the big message that you want to get out to the group, if you
yeah.
have one, that can inspire them, and just share some of your personal thoughts, whatever's on your mind.
Yeah. Well, I think, going back to a couple comments I made earlier, I mean, this is a time for revamping our business, remaking our business, reflecting back on that advisor. There's actually a book I'll share with you. It's called Trusted Advisor, and it talks about our role as an advisor in what we do. I think we have a powerful impact on people's lives on the real estate and loan side. And not to mention, our jobs become more fulfilling when we are acting in that capacity as an advisor to our clients, when we're talking to them, learning about their goals, hopes, dreams. So now, when it's slower, we have a chance to kind of get back to that and work on rebuilding those skills. So, just on a day, I'm revamping a lot of what I'm doing, from time management to time blocking to prospecting to how I talk with clients to how I approach relationships, getting out and meeting people face to face. This is a small thing, but we all have technology, even these calls, but they're nothing to replace meeting people face to face for coffee. So I would just encourage, I mean, if it's any encouragement to anyone, just take this time when it's slow. We have time in the day, even if you don't have a deal or something that's putting direct money into your pocket. There's always time in the day that we need to be building and building our business. So I'm taking this time right now to focus on getting back to basics, rebuilding the business the way I want to build it. So when it gets busy, my business is running. And some of that pertains to the real estate side, but I think it's just, you could look at this time when it's slow as in a negative, or you can say, look, good. Now we have time to get back to do things that we didn't have time to do. And so we're ready to go when the time
That's
comes.
awesome. Matt, before I let you go, could you please go into the chat bar and spell your name and your phone number, so that people
Yes,
are
sir.
interested in contacting you, they have some information in case anybody wants to do a little bit of an investment in South Carolina. I've been out there. It's pretty cool. The only thing that was weird to me is when I went and played golf, and there was some, I don't know, what do you call them? Alligators, crocodiles looking at. That was kind of freaky.
Yeah, you gotta get used to them. They're in every body of water here, which is I have a dog that I can't walk. It's a water dog. You can't go in bodies of water down here, but you get used to it. Now snakes are coming out. So yeah, if South has a lot of critters if you don't like them, but you just get used to it. But I dropped that chat. I really appreciate the time, Frank. It was an honor being here. And yeah, I put my cell phone in my email. If you have any questions on anything, I mean, again, my role is of course business, but if I can be an asset in any aspect of lending or finance, I mean, I've been in business 20 years. I always like to connect with like minds and just talk business, whether it's real estate or AI or where we're going in the future. So I really appreciate the opportunity to be here and be part of your team.
Is your company, you can do loans in how many states?
We're in all 50 states. So yeah, I mean, a lot of my focus is in the Southeast, but then I also do quite a bit of business in California, of course, Texas. We can do all of our loans, from loans to 30 million to lines of credit to doctor loans to our standard conventional VA, FHA, home ready. We have grant programs that can grant clients up to $7,500 for the closing costs, which is a really big focus right now.
Yeah, yeah.
And I've been really diving into educating myself and educating realtors on the areas to look out for. There's a huge move, and lenders, the government, there's a big push behind this. So if we didn't talk about this, but if you guys aren't familiar with that, please reach out to me. And if you're not working with me, talk to your lenders and get educated about this, because there's a lot of money and behind this. And you need to know where it's at in your market. You need to know the areas. I can give you a tool. If you give me an address, I could tell you some basics about if your client would qualify, whether you're a buyer or a listing agent or not. So yeah, please reach out to me on any point. I'd love to connect.
Great. Matt, thank you for your time this morning.
Thank you.
What is it, 11:30 there?
Yep. 11:30 here. So
Great. Well, we got you just in time for lunch. So thanks, Matt, for everything.
thank you. Have a great week. Thank you.
All right. Talk to you soon.